Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My is no, we're gonna get a little feedback. Hold on. Gotta mute this. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Langdon, and today we are going to take a look at the new show that opened yesterday called Art and Words, which is art inspired by poetry. Uh, I've usually done an art and word show every year to celebrate National Poetry Month, but I'm doing it a little different this year. In the past, I have invited artists and also poets to submit some existing artwork that would go to the poets. Poets would choose a piece of art that they wanted to write a new poem inspired by, and then at the same time, those poets would send existing poetry to the artists who would create new artwork inspired by the poem of their choice. But I'm doing a little different this time around. I sent out a Oh, I'm on mute. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Tania, for pointing that out. Okay, let me start from the beginning. My name is Robert Langdon. We are here for the new Art and Word show that opened yesterday. It's a art inspired by poetry. So what I did was I sent a call for art out to artists to submit artwork inspired by a poem of their choice. I've got some really fantastic submissions, some wonderful art, and some really, really wonderful poetry as well. It's a nice combination of existing poetry, some classical poetry, some original poetry, which I was really hoping to receive, and I did receive quite a bit of folks who created their own poetry as well. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at the show today. I have some artists who are going to be joining us. And then for the artists that are not able to join us, I'm going to be presenting the work on their behalf. If it's a short poem, I'm going to read the poem. If it's a longer poem, I will read an excerpt from the poem so that you can sort of see the connection between the artwork and the poetry. Uh, April is National Poetry Month, and I'm really glad to celebrate National Poetry Month in this way. Let me share screen with you and we'll start taking a look at some visuals. Okay, share screen. Here we go. Okay, so you can find the exhibition on artsy.net and then look for Emerge Gallery NY. When you get there, you'll see my homepage. And then on the homepage are all of the exhibits that I have running right now. So this is Art and Words, art inspired by poetry, which is the current show. We also have Neutral, which was last month's show and has about another week left. And this is all neutral themed colors. I have a solo show coming up, From Sky to Sea, The Magical Art of Ruth Sofer. This is going to be at the local in Saugerties, which is a new music and events venue. It was an old Dutch Reformed church that they did a beautiful restoration of. So there is a side room that I'm going to be exhibiting some of Ruth's work. And Ruth was or is a wonderful painter. She illustrated, I think it was 50 books for Dover Press, beautiful botanical pieces, animal pieces as well. And then what else we have? I have a collection of oil paintings by Linda Linton. This is Saltkill. Saltkill River is a river that pretty much goes through the Catskills. So Linda spent a year traveling the Saltkill River and painting different pieces of it. And then finally, I have Diane Talon, Concrete Poetry. Diane is an artist from the East Village. She's lived there for many, many years, and she's documented it with her paintings of New York City. So that's what we have going on now. But as I said, it is National Poetry Month. I'm a poet myself, so I always look forward to it, and we're celebrating it in different ways through the Art and Words show. And then also, if you're interested, check out the national, this is poets.org. It is the folks that put on National Poetry Month, and I'm drawing a blank on, the American Poets, the Academy of American Poets. So have a look there. You'll be able to discover some really wonderful poets there. Every year, Emerge Gallery collaborates with Shout Out Saugerties, a group here in Saugerties, where we take a collection of artwork from, poetry from local poets, and we connect them with local merchants. So there's about 20 poems hanging around in Saugerties in the merchant windows. You can go to the Shout Out Saugerties page, and I'm sure the Shout Out Saugerties page, and then the Emerge Gallery Facebook page, and you'll see a map here where you can walk around the village. It's about 2 blocks and read some poems in the window. And then finally, if you're in the Woodstock area, the Woodstock Public Library is doing some really wonderful events coming up, celebrating poetry. There's a poetry reading-a-thon coming up on the 27th. There's some kid workshops for children. They also have a phone line where you can call and receive a poem a day. And if you are a poet, you can also record your own poem that may be shared through this call system. Okay, so those are my poetry announcements. Let's get to the poetry and the art. So I'm really happy to welcome Tania Esponda Aja. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I'm really glad that you're here, Tania. The piece that you submitted is an acrylic piece of work inspired by your own poem, I believe. Let me pin you here.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much.
I'm really pleased to have the work. I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about it, talk about your poem. Let us know, the inspiration and whatever you'd like to talk about.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm Tania. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, and I'm obsessed with the way we communicate each other through drawings. So a while ago, I decided to create my own language. So I created my own language typography to be able to tell stories in my own way, in my own understanding, my own creativity. I do it with sculpture, I do it with painting. And in the case of these paintings, I wanted to tell the story of words that have a bigger meaning. And this particular painting is about the word mudita. Mudita is a word in Sanskrit that means to be happy for someone else's happiness. That's the meaning of the word. And the fact that just one word can have such a powerful meaning made me believe that I needed to tell the story of this word and a poem with it within a painting. So this is the story of this painting. This is the reason why it started. I wanted to share the empathy, and the poem is it's my original poem as a way of telling the story that I wanted to express here. And it says, in the heart's quiet space where empathy may play, mudita blooms a sunlight display. Delighting in others' joy, like a gentle breeze, harmony whispers through the tranquil trees.
Beautiful. I love
it. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and happy to see you all and see the amazing work of other artists.
Absolutely. I'm really pleased to have met you and to exhibit your work. I'd love to see more.
Thank you.
Got it. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay. Next, I have a piece by Annette Back. How come I can't bring this up? Okay. I think you can see. All right. Annette is an artist living in Bronx, New York. This is called Be a Lady. It's a mixed media and acrylics, and it's 20 by 20. This is from a much longer piece, so I'm just going to read just a small little section of it. I encourage you to go to the Artsy site, which also has artist statements, a little bio about the artist, and the full poem that I encourage you to have a look at. So this piece is inspired by a poem called Be a Lady, They Said, by Camille Rainville. Be a lady, they said. Your skirt is too short. Your shirt is too low. Your pants are too tight. Don't show so much skin. Don't show your thighs. Don't show your breasts. Don't show your midriff. Don't show your cleavage. Don't show your underwear. Don't show your shoulders. Cover up. Leave something to the imagination. Dress modestly. Don't be a temptress. Men can't control themselves. Men have needs. You look frumpy. Loosen up. Show some skin. Look sexy. Look hot. Don't be so provocative. You're asking for it. Wear black. Wear heels. You're too dressed up. You're too dressed down. Don't wear those sweatpants. You look like you've let yourself go. So that's from a much larger piece. Next, I have two pieces by Harriet Foreman Barrett. Harriet is an artist that lives in New Paltz. Harriet's got a very spiritual side to her work. This piece is called Last Winds. It's oil on canvas and it's 36 by 18. It's a poem by Mara McMahon. Glory, glory, she has risen. All light and liquid hope at the dawn of dream. Praise, praise her name which flies from your tongue. When are you feeling most alive? Shine, shine in most humble pose and sing with joy. Her majesty awakes. The second piece by Harriet is called On Becoming. On Becoming is oil on gesso board. It's 16 by 16. I'm going to read just a short little piece from this, another poem by Mara McMahon. I will not emerge quickly. Do not expect to force me. I will take the time I need, dial into source, and create each detail from liquid strands of pure dream and hope. And that's from a longer piece. Two pieces by Sandra Belice Vasquez. This is Sandra's work are photography, but they're made on a scanner, so it is scanner photography. She lives in Newburgh, New York. This first piece is called Fallen Leaves. As I said, it's a scanner photography, and it's 16 by 20. It's from a poem called Fallen Leaves by Emily Bronte. Fall, leaves, fall by Emily Bronte. Fall, leaves, fall. Die, flowers, away. Lengthen night and shorten day. Every leaf speaks bliss to me, fluttering from the autumn tree. I shall smile when wreaths of snow blossom where the rose should grow. I shall sing when night's decay ushers in a dreamier day. The second piece by Sandra is called Red and Yellow Hyacinth. Is that what it's called? I believe so. Red and Yellow Tulips Among Grape Hyacinth. This is scanner photography as well. This is from a poem called Tulip by L.M. Guianon. Bright pops of color, tulips vibrant, petals bloom, harbinger of spring. I have a piece by Ed Burkees. Ed is a artist over in Woodstock. I have quite a bit of Ed's work online, including a solo show from a number of years back, but it's still up online. Ed's a really prolific artist. This is called Red Dawn. It's acrylic on stretch canvas, 15 by 30, and it's inspired by the old sailor saying, "Red sky in morning, sailor take warning." Mary Blinn. Mary, are you here? I see Bob, but you're on mute. I mean, I would be happy to present the piece if you'd like. Okay. All right. This is a watercolor on paper. This is by Mary Blinn. Mary lives in Schaumburg, Illinois. The piece is 9 by 7.5, and it is inspired by a poem that she wrote called Love Poem. I'm amazed at how thin your skin is. I see your soul like a gift wrapped in tissue, anticipating as I loosen the ribbon to undo what separates me from you. Beautiful. So that is by Mary Blinn. A new artist for the gallery. I'm really pleased to have Mary's work here. Vian Borche. Vian is a artist living in Germantown, Maryland. This is called Cherry Blossoms Over Water. It's a watercolor on archival paper, and it's 9 by 12. It's inspired by, it's an original short poem that she wrote called Blossoms Over Water. Cherry blossoms appear over water, vistas so near, spring is filling the atmosphere. Okay. I think we have an artist joining us next. No, not yet. Okay, this is gonna have to put up with me reading for a little bit longer, but we've got lots of artists coming up. Okay, the next piece is by Leah Brazil. Leah lives in Valley Village, California. This is called Fever Dreams. It's photography. Fever Dreams. It's an original poem written by Leah. An amalgamation of terrors and hopeful desires, where love is twisted and memories are bittersweet. The fire that was supposed to be warm and welcoming was instead burning everything in its path, turning everything into ash, forever comatose in my fever dreams. Okay. Arabella. I knew there was an artist coming up. Arabella Colton. Where are you, Arabella? Okay, I see that you are you're I can't see your face, but let's get you to unmute yourself, and then you can talk to us, Arabella. Arabella, can you hear me? No, Arabella, you need to unmute. Okay, what we're going to do is move on to the next person, but when you're ready, Arabella, let me know, and we'll come back to you. All right, Lydia. I saw Lydia here. Congiu? Here you go. Oh, great. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your last name right. Is it Congiu?
Congiu.
Congiu.
Yes. Okay.
Well, welcome, Lydia.
Thank you. I'm in New Jersey.
What part of New Jersey?
South Jersey.
Oh, great. Lovely.
And I've been working with a series of paintings in which I paint blue canvas, and then I use white ink, and I do a lot of landscapes, and the idea is to imagine the lives of plants and how they cooperate with their environments. And I was inspired by my own personal experience of I have always made greeting cards with my own company, Lydia's Land, and I always used quotations, poetry combined with collage. And so when I saw this art call, I thought that, wow, why don't I just put the poetry inside the art? And that's what I did.
Nice.
And I love to do it with the ink. I love to do a lot of detail. And, I just continually add more leaves, trees, whatever to the piece. And I chose the Robert Burns poem, Sketch New Year's Day, 1790, which I thought was a fit for the tranquil feeling of what I was trying to do of nature.
Yeah.
And so I just picked a piece of it, which, if you can see, it says, the voice of nature loudly cries, and many a message from the skies, that something in us never dies. And I just like that, so I added it to my piece.
Beautiful. It's a really gorgeous piece. I think it's beautifully composed, and I think the poem fits in perfectly. It is really I mean the connection between the two are really lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Is this typical of your work? Do you usually?
I've done a whole series that have been really well received with the ink on the blue canvas. I mean, and I just, go and do landscapes, and it kind of takes off. And now I've done like maybe 6 or 8 pieces with poems because of this art call.
Oh, I'm really, really pleased. I'd love to see more.
Sure.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Lydia, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Same.
Jersey boy myself.
Oh, really? Where?
Northern Jersey, a town called Clifton.
Oh, I love Clifton.
Yes, right next to Montclair. Uh-huh.
Nice,
Yep,
nice.
yep. Born and raised.
Oh, okay. I'm way south.
Oh, yes. I used to run a gallery in Red Bank.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so every once in a while I'll make it down there. I
That's
love
central. That's not central.
Oh, true. For me, it's south. For me, it's
I'm
the
in
shore.
Marlton, which is way south. It's near Cherry Hill.
Yes. Wonderful. All right. Well, good to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Arabella, I see you. Are you ready to come up?
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Bring,
Oh, good.
all right. Great. We have your piece up. Yeah. Tell us a
Good.
little bit about it.
Yes. Well, I'd like to read an excerpt from the poem that inspires it, as well as the last line of the poem. It's called Praise by Angelo Getter. I will praise the ground that did not make feast of these bones. Praise the casket that did not become a shelter for flesh. Praise the bullets that called in sick to work. Praise the trigger that went on vacation. Praise the chalk that did not outline a body today. And the last line of the poem is, praise yourself for being able to praise, for waking up when you had every reason not to. And I think this is a poem of hope in the face of the great darkness that is racism. It is a poem that has the hope of the innocence of children. And I felt that this little child, all alone with her chalk, standing up against the darkness, resonated with the poem. It means a great deal to me to be able to use my photography in the service of the causes I believe in. Black Lives Matter.
It's a really, really strong piece. And I think that, just hearing the poem to go along with this photograph gives a complete different perspective than, what you would normally, or the way that I would just, think in just looking at the photograph. So it definitely brings a real awareness in a really powerful way. Thank you, Arabella, for that. I did want to mention Arabella also, I have a series of photographs that Arabella did in the 90s back in San Francisco. There was a unknown artist going around painting dogs on walls all over San Francisco, almost like a little Banksy kind of thing. Nobody really knew who he was, but you would just see these painted dogs pop up all over the place. And Arabella went around San Francisco and photographed them. So it's a real a way to capture a particular time and place in San Francisco. I was out there myself at the time and made it a point to, look for the wall dogs. It was always exciting to find a new one. So Arabella documented them, and you can see those on Artsy as well. Arabella, thank you. You're always, you're always fighting the good fight, and and to bring your artwork into it too is just a really beautiful thing. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you, Robert.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Daniel Cosentino. I have two pieces by Daniel, and I saw you here. There you are. Excellent.
Hello.
Welcome. Another Jerseyite.
Another Jerseyite. I'm in Morristown right now in my studio.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and grew up in Lincoln Park, so we're pretty close. And my mother's in Cape May, so it's just can't escape me somehow. Can you show the second one? Because I wanted to show this.
Yeah,
got it. These are digital creations of these works that are made like kind of multi-layered. So these are platinum prints, and on top of that, there's inked plates, and the inked plates create the kind of finished piece. And they're very much in production right now. So sometimes I vary the themes of the image once it's created. So it's paints and inks and a little bit of graphite and other things layered. This first one is a Rudyard Kipling poem from 1910. It's like Victorian, what they call it, stoicism. It's an advice from a father to a son. And it's a very well-known poem. And it's, it has these other kind of histories to it. Here's the first stanza. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or be lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. And it goes on like that. The other one, I think it has what I've done here, instead of using these words and illustrations around them, I converted the poem to mathematical fonts and layered them, extracting elements of the shapes to produce the outer layer. So in a way, they're poems, but I've converted it. I think this one actually has some of the verses from book 13 of the Iliad, of Homer's Iliad, one of the English translations of it. And the translation always makes the work. I couldn't read it for a while until I found the right one. And I think I'll leave it there. And I'm in full production of these. There'll be a show of them at the University of Texas in Brownsville in October after the summer. So look forward to presenting more. And I thank you so much. There is wonderful to be included in this exhibition and to see these works. I feel pleased. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Was really happy to see these come in. I mean, the artwork itself is striking, and then just to see how the pieces that they were created, inspired by, really nice. And I'd love to see more in the series. Congratulations on the show. Thanks for joining us, Daniel. Good to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay. I have two pieces by Lydia Daniels. I don't think Lydia's here. No. This first piece is called A Secret Place, and it's an acrylic piece. It's 30 by 40, inspired by one of Lisa's poems. There is a secret place that only you can know, and it is in this place the angels come and go, and in the woods of magic, a cure for all downcast, for nothing here is tragic. Your sorrow is in the past. Okay. The second work by Lydia is called Gray Garden. This piece is acrylic as well, 24 by 36. It's by one of her original poems. Under veiled sky she walks amid the tall, straight floral stalks. Once a lady, now a ghost, she haunts the place that she loves most. You may see her shadow traced among the floral in this place, white and pink and lilac hue, lovely in the morning dew. When the night falls and it's late, you hear her close Gray Garden's gate. Two works by Lydia. This is a piece by Shelley Davis. Shelley is a very prolific artist living in Malden, which is a small little hamlet here in Saugerties. And this is inspired by the George Harrison song, the Beatles song written by George Harrison, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which I think a lot of people know. I'm just going to read the first two stanzas. I look at you all, see the love there that's sleeping, while my guitar gently weeps. I look at the floor and I see it needs sweeping. Still, my guitar gently weeps. I don't know why somebody told you how to unfold your love. I don't know how someone controlled you. They bought and sold you. I did want to speaking of art inspired by music, I did want to mention that I currently have a call for art out. Every year I do a show with Shout Out Saugerties here in town. This year, the village of Saugerties is celebrating the anniversary of Woodstock 94, which happened here. So there's a lot going on in town, including an exhibit that I'm doing with Shout Out Saugerties at the historic Lamb House here in town. So we have a call for art out. It's album-sized art, and it's artwork inspired by a song, an artist. If you want to reimagine a favorite album, now's your opportunity. So there is a call for art out. It will be exhibited at the Lamb Center. It will also be on Artsy as well, and we'll have some events surrounding that. So that's coming up this summer. You can find information about the call on the website. So that actually, Shelley, if you're watching, that would have fit in perfectly. But I'm happy to have it here. Okay, next is a piece by Nancy deFlon, and we've got Nancy here, I believe. We saw her a little earlier.
Yeah, hi.
Right,
Hi,
Nancy.
Robert. Here.
Hi, good
Yeah.
to see Nancy is an artist living here in Saugerties, a wonderful photographer who I'm always pleased to see her work, and I really love the softness in this. So please tell us about this piece.
It's based on the poem God's Grandeur by Jared Manley Hopkins. I'm sure most people know it. It begins, "The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, have trod, have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge, and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel, being shod. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness, deep down things." And it goes on, but my title for this is "The Dearest Freshness." It's about, I think his poem is about a term that he wouldn't have known because it's a modern term, the resiliency of nature, which is something I first became aware of many, many years ago, probably in another lifetime, when I was watching a BBC documentary on ships that had been sunken and were down at the bottom of the ocean during the war in the Pacific. And it showed the way these ships, nature was reclaiming them and just taking them back and thriving. And even the animals, they showed a little octopus who was busy at work on it. And that just struck me. And then probably around that time or a few years later, I was at Tintern Abbey, which of course Wordsworth wrote a poem about. And there were the ruins. And you had, brick, well, not brick, rock, but whatever these abbeys were made of at that time. And I look up, and sure enough, there are greeneries, flowers, leaves, and stuff like that growing out. And I thought of this poem then. And I think that was the first time I ever photographed anything based on that. And since then, I see stuff and I'll photograph on it. Well, anyway, the rock here is my favorite rock conglomerate in the universe. It's on a Rhode Island shore, and it's probably the most photographed rock in the world at this point. But this was at an advanced stage in spring, where the greenery was, as you can see, quite prolific. And as usual, I like to clamber on the rock and just try different things, different angles, zoom in and out to see whether the greenery should be smaller or larger, or should it look like just a piece of greenery that happens to be on a rock, which I didn't want that. I felt here the two things were collaborating, and that's what I wanted. And then, as you say, I took it and I applied a soft filter to it, which I thought also went with the idea of the dearest freshness.
It's really beautifully composed. I especially like how the green cuts across, but not completely down, and you've got that sort of almost white space on the bottom right there. Really nicely composed, Nancy.
Thank you.
Nancy, it has some really wonderful landscape photography, especially in Rhode Island and of Cape Cod.
No, not Cape Cod, the Catskills.
Oh, the Catskills, I'm sorry. Have a look at some more of Nancy's work. This is really representative of the kind of work that she does, and this is a really beautiful piece, and it goes really lovely with the poem. Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Robert. Can I ask you just one tiny question?
Of course.
The call for art with the music, can it be a piece of classical music?
Of course.
You got it.
Yeah, it was there first. All right. Take care, Nancy. Good to see you.
God bless you.
Okay, have a watercolor from Mary Elwin. I'm sorry, this is oil. Mary lives in West Hurley. This is called Solace. It's oil on linen, 9x12. And it's from a poem called Bird Sanctuary, from a recently published poetry collection, Flight Patterns, by her friend Mary O'Melveny. I'm just going to read the first stanza of the poem Bird Sanctuary. When we see the little wooden boat filled with duck hunters, we are huddled on the sandy shoreline. No motor, just the slap of paddles on the glistening surface. Each group is surprised by intrusion. They hope to set up their blinds, wait for innocence to leave formation, to be lulled by mirrored skies and swaying reeds. We too lack permission to be present. That is a piece by Mary Elwin. Next, we have two original works by Isabel Eggleston. This first piece is called Joy Abounding. It's an oil on canvas. Isabel lives in Stamford, Connecticut. It's oil on canvas 24x24. And this is inspired by one of her original poems. It's a little longer poem, so I'm just going to read the first paragraph. It's called Joy Abounding. I had joy abounding, seeping from all my nooks and crannies. I was the light in my window calling ships to port, despite rocky water, trembling docks, and hulls. My joy abounding was hearth, a warmer for soaked socks and sullied caps. The second piece by Isabel is called Rose-Made Bed. This is oil on canvas as well. This is 30x30, and it is inspired by one of her original poems, which I'll read in its entirety. I long to etch you into a tree deep in gnarled bark, to mark proof of your life in life. So maybe when the leaves die, they will fall around you, a rose-made bed for you. And when the trees sing new life with buds at the tip of their fingers, you will live there among the new, so I can visit. Beautiful poem, and really, really beautiful piece. I have a piece by, this is a fiber works by Andrea Giarputo, or actually, no, this is Andrea usually does fiber. She's some beautiful fiber works, but this piece is actually a paper collage. It's called Rewilding. It's 7x5, and it's inspired by one of her original poems called Rewilding. It is a mystery to me how the bumble finds the partridge pea on flowers yellow as the sun, a fury bum with charming hum. To each the other is a gift. Together they're a perfect fit. No hybrid blooms. This is the one. So plant this plant, and they will come on flowers golden as the day, buzz pollinate and fly away. That is Andrea. Andrea lives here in Saugerties. Cheryl. I have two pieces by Cheryl Gross. I'm really happy to have here.
Hi.
Hi, Cheryl. Good to see
How
you.
you doing? It's good to see you.
Another Jersey artist.
Yeah, Jersey City.
Yep. A lot going on in Jersey City these days.
Oh my God. And I can't keep up with it.
Great. Well, I'm really pleased to have you as part of this.
Well, thank you. I'm pleased to be here, and I thank you very much.
That's my pleasure.
Okay. I'm going to start. These two pieces are part of a larger project called Commit to Memory, The Precipice of Extinction. And it's multi-platform social commentary addressing the shifting and eventual disappearance of our culture using animals as metaphors, with overall goal being socially relevant as well as visually compelling. That's from my statement. The poet is Nikel Davis. I work with her on a regular basis. She's awesome. And the first, if you want to go back to the elephants. Okay, so that's based on a poem called Numbers. More than 1.5 million years old, they will be poached to nothing in 10. 26 million roamed Africa in the 1500s. Today, less than 500,000 are wild, but these are just numbers, cold. Here, another number. 1/3 of an elephant tusk hides within their skulls, meaning one must take a machete to the face. Red runs out of the open crater. Bulge of brain slips where trunk has been. Warm. Nikel's a little descriptive, which is to say the least, but I love her poetry.
That's good for an artist to have a lot of description there.
Yeah. And then the other one is the last letter. I lost it. Okay. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. The last letter that's about penguins. You told me be another and taped her bio to my face. Curls alight at every curve. Couldn't because my hair split at each end. I'm not. Since then, my bones have chipped to landscapes unknown before. I am writing to ask. So that's all I'm going to read. But anyway, so that's my thing.
Wonderful. I wanted to ask you, Cheryl, you usually combine art and poetry. I know you have a long history of doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm sorry, I had to plug this in, moving around a little bit. So I'm really, really pleased to have these two. I mean, these are two really gorgeous pieces.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
again, I think that art really, can really send a message about especially the hard times that we're living in now. So I think this really accomplishes both.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. But yeah, they've been in film festivals and around the world, and I'm really happy to be part of this. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm glad to have you back.
Okay.
All right, take care. All right, have two works by Josefa Gutelius. Josefa is an artist living here in Saugerties. This first piece is called Brim, she said. It's watercolor, pencil, and acrylic on canvas. It's 12 by 16, and it's inspired by one of her original poems called Brim, she said. Brim, she said. The gnawed away fruit trees don't brim, she said. Brim, she said. What was she not mentioning? The second piece is inspired by a William Butler Yeats poem called Lydia and the Swan. This is acrylic on painted over canvas found at the town dump. It's 39 by 29. Lydia and the Swan. A sudden blow, the great wings beating still above the staggering girl, her thighs caressed by the dark webs, her nape caught in his bill. He holds her helpless breast upon his breast. How can those terrified, vague fingers push the feathered glory from her loosening thighs? And how can body, laid in that white rush, but fuel the strange heart beating where it lies? A shudder in the loins engenders there the broken wall, the burning roof and tower, and Agamemnon dead. Being so caught up, so mastered by the brute blood of the air, did she put on his knowledge with his power before the indifferent beak could let her drop? Josefa is a really wonderful poet herself and a playwright. She has a number of pieces on the Artsy site. If you ever come to Saugerties, in the summer months, I think it's the last weekend in April, perhaps. I'm sorry, August. There is an open studio tour, and if you do come up for that, there's 40 plus artists that open up their studio doors for the weekend. It's the best in the Hudson Valley. I'm a little biased, but there's some really, really talented artists in our community, including Josefa, who does open up her studio to the public. So, make a great trip up here too for the weekend. All right, next I have a piece by Catherine Hazard. Catherine is an artist living in Saugerties as well. This is called Daybreak. It's acrylic on oil and it's 20 by 20. It's a quote from Sam Ryder. I am a mountain and down in the valley below is that I've overcome all that I've overcome. Reginae Jones. I have two pieces by Reginae, and I'm very happy to welcome you. Here you are. Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If I
You
didn't,
did. You actually did.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
perfect
welcome. It's
pronunciation.
really a pleasure to have you here. Tell us a little bit about, you've got two pieces here. You've got Arms Reaching, and then the second one is called Alone. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the work, about yourself, and about the poems.
Okay. So I'm an artist here based in Atlanta, and I first just want to say thank you. This is my first time having my work presented by you guys, so I'm very appreciative. So this poem, Arm Reaching, not Arms Reaching, this piece, Arms Reaching, prior to taking this photo, I had watched a horror movie called, I believe by the name Drag Me to Hell. So that kind of inspired the depiction of these hands reaching up, and the red hue that I had used, like that the filter to edit the photo. But yeah, the poem Help, it's about wanting help, asking for help, but not necessarily always having the words. Um, and that's something I struggled with too in the past, was asking for help or reaching out for help. So this was a close piece for me. And then my second piece, Alone. So it's the poem I choose for this one was Alone by Maya Angelou. So that poem presents the idea that, all humans need companion or strong community to live in this painful world, which is very true. We can't be successful in isolation. All of us need someone to make it through this life. We're not meant to be alone. And what inspired the editing behind this one is the album, Sade's album, Love Deluxe. So that heavily inspired the lighting and the editing of this. And actually, it was an accidental shot. So that's why I'm looking down, because I was trying to fix the settings on my camera and I accidentally snapped the picture. But it ended up working very well for this piece. Yeah, so that's that. Thank you again.
Sometimes those accident shots, or just accidents in general in art, happen for a reason.
Yes.
And really can change a piece, and really make it impactful. I want to mention Drag Me to Hell. I know it well, and as soon as you said that, it brought my mind to it. And then the Sade album, I can certainly see the influence in there as well.
Right.
These are wonderful. I'm really pleased to have you join us, and would love to see some more of your work.
Thank you.
Got it. Thanks for joining us. I have two photographs by Kay Kenny. Kay is an artist living in Saugerties, or perhaps Woodstock. Kay is a photographer. These has a whole series of night photographs where she uses natural lighting, and which means a very, very still camera. She'll also put a flashlight here or there to create a little more light. This one is called Full Moon Rising. It's an archival photographs, 14 by 20. It's by a larger poem by Carl Dennis called At the Summer House, which I'll just read the first paragraph. At the Summer House. After a hard rain, a sudden clearing. Puddles shine on the gravel path, winding down to the meadow where smoky wisps rise from the warm ground. Low earth clouds that thin and vanish. And now the birds start up again, and the crickets. The second piece is called Dawn Lake, Warren. This is all natural, long exposure and natural lighting as well. This is inspired by a poem by Constance Lindsay Skinner called Dawn Song. Dimly about the dark sea's marge move the shores of dawn. Fainter sounds the one golden note of the passing star. Earth lies mute. Now, from the hill-riven sky showers the white air. The waking leaves send a ripple of song down the mountainside. The cedars, sleeping on the swing of the cliffs, stir, stand erect, with slow arms, push wide their misty doors. Shadow like a gull lifts from the gleaming sea. Morning with bells in her bright hair enters the world. So to my heart comest now, morning of God, the woman. Okay, I'm going to switch screens here so you're going to see my big face real quick. And let me bring up second screen. All right. Moving on, we have a piece by Lisa Kole. I think, Lisa, you're here, right?
Yes, I am.
Right.
Hi there.
Find you. Oh, here you are. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Brought you up. Welcome. Good to see you. And good to have some more of you, some more of your work in the shows.
Thank you.
So tell us about this piece together.
Well, the painting is inspired by the poem "The Wild Swans That Cool" by William Butler Yeats, which I first read when I was 16 and fell in love with it then. It has a number of really lovely images in it. A pristine lake in Ireland. It's autumn, twilight with the sky reflected in the water. 59 swans swimming across the lake. But there's something that is wistful about it as well. And the poem is written in the first person. And the speaker is standing alone at the edge of the lake looking at the swans and has a realization about something that that they're missing in their life. And he says, I'm drawing from the poem, "I've looked upon those brilliant creatures, and now my heart is sore." And goes on to say, "Unwearied still, lover by lover, they paddle in the cold, companionable streams or climb the air. Their hearts have not grown old. Passion or conquest wander where they will, attend upon them still." And that, sort of that idea of the, love and commitment and the sort of bond that exists between the swans. Swans are famously monogamous. They spend their lives together. And I tried to create that in the painting. I had thought originally about maybe having, several swans interacting, that kind of thing. And then I thought, no, I want to show the trust. I want to show the reliance. I want to show the peace. And so I put one of the swans asleep. And the other is kind of watching out for them, keeping an eye on that guy on the shore, and also just being protective. There's a motif in the painting of circles, circles to reflect completeness, to express a kind of continuity. It's in the ripples around the swans. It's in the image of the moon reflected in the water. And also in the changing colors as you move around the piece, which it is the colors of a single sunset, but also the kind of colors that the sky goes through on a regular basis. So I wanted to kind of give what the speaker in the poem is missing.
Well, I think you really accomplished that. Thank you for just the explanation and real detail and thought behind, for explaining that behind this piece, because hearing you talk about it really brings, a lot more to the work. And hearing the poem read, Yeats is one of my favorites. So I was really, really pleased to see this, to see another as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for this really wonderful piece.
Thank you.
And I hope to see some more of your work too.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Okay, this is an original piece by Thomas Corin. Thomas is an artist living in DeKalb, Illinois. This is a photography and a paint over it, and it's inspired by his original poem called "The Maiden and the Nightingale." As soft moonlight shone upon the maiden, she pulled her dark hair away from her face. With fresh flowers her garden was laden, and around her a nightingale did trace. The bird then quickly vanished from her sight. She regretted it, having left too soon. The strong wind led the bird on its high flight over the water, reflecting the moon. Near the brook, it found some sticks it could use to build a nest closer to her homestead. The bird began flying back to its muse, spreading its wing. From the water, it fled. As the nightingale took time to linger, the lovely maiden awoke with a yawn. With the nightingale upon her finger, around her garden she walked in the dawn. As cathedral bells in the distance rang, the nightingale on the maiden's hand sang. It's an original piece by Thomas Corin. I have a gorgeous piece by Veronica Lawler. I did a show for Veronica last summer where she spent some time exploring the brickyards here in the Hudson Valley. And then what she did was abstracted them out into really gorgeous paintings. You could see that on the artsy side. It was really, really pleased to have Veronica's work and to give her a solo show last year. It was a really, really dynamic show. So this is a piece of Veronica's called Fortress. It's acrylic and ink, an oil stick on a cradled wood panel. It's 24 by 18, and it's inspired by an Emily Dickinson poem called Me from Myself to Banish. Me from myself to banish, had I art, impregnable my fortress unto all heart. But since myself assault me, and have I peace except for subjugating consciousness? And since we're a mutual monarch, how this be except by abdication? Me of me? Good old Emily Dickinson. Oksana Lerman. This is a ink piece, or it's watercolor and ink. It is 7.5 by 7.5. Oksana lives in Brooklyn. This is called Ribbons from Chile, and it is by a poem called Ribbons from Chile from Natalia Svanvatka, I believe her last name is pronounced, and probably butchered. If you don't love, send flowers, don't wait. Let them be a wreath on the lover's grave. My request is big and silly, but please send roses from Chile. I'll press my forehead against the window till morning, or I'll burn like a comet in self-scorning. Smelling lilies and tears running down my cheeks, give me roses from Chile. I say to you, please. Let your laughter ring in my ears on replay, and feet ache like they've been walking for a day. You don't remember, but we once had a feeling. Now please don't forget the roses from Chile. Two works by Barbara Tepper Levy. Barbara is a wonderful artist living here in Saugerties. Really, really pleased to see some new, real dynamic work coming from Barbara. This first piece is called Don't You Turn Back. It is a collage work from this year. It's 14 by 11, and it is it's a poem inspired by the Langston Hughes poem, Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you.
Robert.
Oh, you are here? Oh, great. Perfect. Fantastic. I didn't see you. I'm sorry, Barbara.
No worries. No
great.
worries.
So, Barbara Tepper Levy.
Hi.
Welcome, Barbara. So please, tell us about, I gave a little bit of away, but
that's great.
Please go right ahead.
I have always been very moved by this poem by Langston Hughes. It was written in 1922, and it's called Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up, places with no carpet on the floor. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she goes on to say, so boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Nice.
I really, as soon as I saw what this particular show is about, I felt really moved to make something of this poem, and I really struggled with it. but I'm pleased with what came out. There's actually something called Swarovski crystal stairs, which are, I think they're generally on like cruise ships. I mean, maybe they're in a couple of places in the US. So this is actually a photograph of the crystal stair with I used nail polish to make it glitter. That's what worked there. And behind it are actual pieces, photographs of boards that I put together. And what I wanted to do is update it in a way to show the Black woman's experience, Black woman's struggle, and with a hopeful look that it has moved forward from 1922. I started with a pair of bare feet of a woman. They're up in the right-hand corner. So that's how it began. But here at the bottom, there are a pair of Black woman in red high heels, just about to start climbing on a crystal stair. So it's moving to me, and I hope it is to other people.
Yeah, I think you beautifully captured it. I love the gold in the back too.
Thank you.
What about the second piece, Barbara? Sex on the Brain.
Yeah, this is I think it's kind of an interesting one.
Huh.
The poem is called Let Me Sex Your Mind, and with the you are mind, by a poet named Leishon Show. And it's a poem about basically wanting to get to know somebody's mind before they had sex with them. And to me, that's just, as a woman, I found that extremely appealing. And again, I was moved by that. And I just thought that I would, against a multicolored crayon background, I would place a stark image, a brain, which really could be a man or a woman's brain, atop a woman's sexual organs.
Yeah. Nice.
And I just think it's very stark. Background is soft, but I think if you know the poem, you read the poem, I think it gets across the meaning.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy and excitement in this piece, Barbara, and I think it matches beautifully with the that same kind of feeling in the poem.
Thank you.
Yeah, really nice. Really happy to see a lot of this new work from you. So and pleased to have it here, especially in the poetry show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Good to see you. I'm glad I didn't realize you were coming today, so I'm really happy you came.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. All right, let's who's next? Oh, Jimmy Key. Jim, are you here? You are. Here you are. Great.
Yeah.
Let me bring you up. Excellent. Welcome, Jim. Good to see you. Coming from Gettysburg, PA.
Yeah.
So tell us about this guy, this piece.
Yeah, this I actually did this for another show that they had locally about rhyming with orange, and it's sort of disappointing that I didn't have anything on hand, because I usually I use words in almost all my art.
Yeah.
And I usually, I just didn't have anything in hand for the deadline. So I went with this. The background's made out of Bible verses, so you could argue that's poetry in itself. But I've have in the past, I've had several poems in I don't know, 3 or 4 anthologies, and so I'm quite fond of poetry and poets. But this was a thing for a show, nothing rhymes with orange, and so I went with that. But the thing about this piece is there's a whole nother piece behind the obvious out front. There's a puzzle. I like Mark Rothko used to say, you know, his paintings were a puzzle for people to figure out. And there is another piece behind the piece, so to speak, here. And so far no one's caught it. But I really like doing this piece, and I really like, you know, how it was done, and, you know, ransom note cut letters. I like that effect. So well, anyhow, thanks for having me in the show.
Always a pleasure, Jim.
And you know, I really you know, I don't like a lot of my art, but I particularly like this piece and how it turned out.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I have had a few pieces of your work in my shows, and you know, again, it's art with a message. You know, your work, I know a lot of your work has to do with religion and sort of sometimes the uncomfortableness of, you know, fundamentalism.
Yeah,
I'm always ready to welcome your work here. You know, I think it's important to express ourselves, especially through art. So thank you for that, Jim.
thank you.
Good to see you.
Yep.
Kendall Matsuka. This is a piece based on a Charles Bukowski poem called The Laughing Heart. It's acrylic and marker, 24 by 24. So The Laughing Heart, Charles Bukowski. Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You can't beat death, but you can't beat death in life sometimes. Or you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait in delight in you. Kendall lives in Saugerties. This is a piece by William Mazza. William has a whole series where he uses specific lines from text. This is from Anne Waldman's Manatee/Humans. It's page 68 through 69, which was published in 2018. Lisa Penny. Lisa, are you here? Yes, you are. Wonderful. If you could just unmute yourself.
There we go.
Hi, welcome.
I believe this one was from your neutral
Oh, I'm
exhibition, but I could talk about this one.
No, I'm sorry. Let me bring, I brought up the wrong one.
Yeah, that was a mixed media piece from the last one. There we go.
I'm sorry.
And actually, I've been doing a lot of mixed media work, taking things into more acrylics and other types of media with grass papers and wood and fibers. But
there we go. My apologies for that.
No problem. But actually, it's interesting that you did that, because for this particular piece, I actually went back to my fiber and fabric roots. You can kind of see it behind me here. Might have a little more blue in the one going on here. But I kind of, this particular poem that I fashioned this after I saw this with your, when I first saw your call, this came immediately to mind. It's called High Flight by John Gillespie McGee. And he was a pilot in World War II in the RAF, Canadian RAF. And he wrote about several poems about his experience flying. And I'll read you the poem real quickly, because then I think you'll get a sense of where I was going with the abstracted piece that I put together. I'm not much on performing, so this will hurt you more than me. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you've not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and swung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew, and whilst with silent lifting on mind, I've trod the untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand, and touched the face of God. And that poem I heard first when I was quite young. And actually when I was very young, my dad was in the Air Force, and I used to imagine that that poem was about him, actually. So when I first saw the call, this one came right to mind. And one of the reasons I went back to my more fabric roots was the beautiful sense of the sky, and the abstraction of the sky really worked well with this beautiful Dupioni silk. It's a beautiful sky blue and has nice variations. I'm sorry, this photo looks a little gray. I'm hoping you're picking up some of the blue, but it's got beautiful variations that give a sense of the wind. And I went with the abstraction because I wanted to imagine the way there's two suns, as though you're barrel rolling and tumbling through the sky, and the propellers are going every which way. And in the fabrics themselves, I kept them very simple so that they wouldn't take away from the entire composition, so that the whole abstraction would kind of fall together into this open sense of the sky. And I feel like it really came together pretty well how I was imagining it, which sometimes is a treat.
I
I have some friends who are pilots, and one of them commented that they would love to see this in their den or library. It's a nice little piece to brighten up a private space like that, you know.
Yes. A lot of times it's difficult to sort of get a story out of abstraction. And this I think fits the poem perfectly. It does sort of give you that whole sense of flying and being in the air. And I think that, especially the fabrics you chose, there's some really wonderful texture in here too that add greatly to the piece.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, I in a lot of my newer work, I've been going with real heavy texture, and this particular poem, I really felt like it really needed that softness of the fibers entirely. And so I went back to it and had a lot of fun doing it. So, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be in the show.
My pleasure.
You put a lot of effort into this beautiful exhibition. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite of the year. I'm always happy to celebrate poetry.
Well,
Wonderful.
it's
Thank
beautiful.
You so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it. Hope to see more.
Certainly.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Denise, I think.
Hi, Robert. I'm here.
Yes, you are. Oh, good. I'm glad you joined us. Let me find you here. Oh, great.
Hi.
Wonderful. Welcome, Denise. This is Denise Pollack. Denise is joining us from Easton, Pennsylvania. And this one is called An Omen, which I think is based on an original poem, right? Your own original poem? Oh, yeah. Great.
So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about, I had a private practice for about 15 years. And in 2020, I shut my physical office down and started working remotely. I'm still a therapist, but my office had a very large waiting room with big windows. And I had my paintings like kind of always rotating through the waiting room. And people would always ask me about the subjects of my paintings, Like, who is that person? What were they doing? What were they thinking? And it started a conversation. And I kind of feel like my work is geared toward that, toward being like in a public place, in a waiting room, in someone's living room, where people can talk about, the mystery, because I like to have a mystery. Like, I think that's a common theme with most of my paintings, like what's going on? What is that person doing or thinking or whatever? So anyway, this painting in Omen, I wrote this poem, and I haven't written poems since I was in college, but I gave it a shot and I felt like it coordinated pretty well with the painting. So I'll read it. Distant conversation above the horizon sounds the alarm. Flee. They know before we do. Instinct. Grains of sand spray her face. Endure. A nomadic life is better than no life. Accept. A way becomes a way of life. That's
wonderful. I think you opened the door to even more curiosity about the piece. You sort of set the tone, and a little bit of an ominous tone from the background and from some of your words. But I think you opened that door to even more questions about what happens next, which I think is a really, really beautiful way to combine both the text and the art.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. For having written anything, not having written anything in a while, I think you did a fantastic job. I definitely encourage you to write some more.
Yeah, I'm excited about writing now. Now I want to write a poem with all my paintings. I mean, I'd like something to explain them a little bit, but not too much. I like there to still be mystery so people can interpret things however they want.
Sure. And I think you did that really wonderfully with this. And especially even, the last piece that you had in the Art for the Kitchen show, really beautiful, gorgeous portrait, and a really, really charming story behind it, which, always adds more for me, at least, to in viewing the work, having that little story behind it. So I would certainly encourage you to continue on with, writing for your work.
Yeah, well, thank you for being a catalyst for that. Because like I said, I haven't written since college, and I used to go to poetry readings and write poetry pretty often, but I don't know, stopped doing it. So
I hope it continues, at least every April. It's a great way to celebrate National Poetry Month.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm really glad you joined us, Denise. Thank you.
Thank you too.
I hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
Elaine Ralston. This is a piece by Elaine Ralston. It's a pastel work. It's called Beyond. Elaine lives in Olive Ridge, New York, here in Hudson Valley. And this is inspired by a poem by Edwin Markham. It's called Outwitted. He drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in. Elaine is a really wonderful pastel artist. She's had quite a few pieces in some previous shows. A lot of them are really gorgeous landscapes. So this is a little different for Elaine, a little psychedelic. Have two pieces by Jackie Rowland. Jackie has a little bit of a dark side to her, which I love. Jackie lives here in Saugerties. This first piece is called Sewing Fireflies. It's an oil work, 12 by 24, and it is inspired by, or a poem. She wrote a poem inspired by this. She did the opposite, called Sewing Fireflies. With utmost care, the fairy-soaked clouds of fireflies that rose to twinkle on right up to dawn, and then they darkened, I suppose. And then we have a second piece inspired by the classic fairy tale Mary Had a Little Lamb. And this piece is oil, and it's 8 by 10. Have a combination of photographs, sort of a collage, with text by Doug Smith. Doug is an artist living in New Jersey as well. It's called Story of a Migraine. I'm just going to read just a little bit from it. It's coming. I can taste it in my mouth. A sense of urgency is about to overwhelm me, and I try to relax. Soon the drums will start beating. Visions will start to blur, and finally, the constant scream of horses. There is nothing I can do but wait and try to divert the inevitable halt in my life. Today, 2 hours. How long will it take this time to surrender? The boring in my skull is now beginning. I want to die. And I think anyone that suffered from migraines knows the feeling. And I think that Doug, you know, I don't want to say beautifully, but perfectly captured that feeling in both the photographs and in his words. So thank you for that, Doug. Two pieces by Marjorie Sopkin. Marjorie is an artist living in Guilford, Connecticut. This is Fare Thee Well, Bright Star. It's acrylic on wood panel and it's 7x5. It's inspired by an Indigo Girl song called, I'm not sure what it's called, I'm sorry. Fare Thee Well, maybe? Fare Thee Well, My Bright Star. Fare thee well, my bright star. I watched your tail lights blaze into nothingness. But you were long gone before I ever got to you, before you blazed past this address. And now I think of having loved and having lost, but never know what it feels like to never love. Who can say what's better when my heart's become the cost, a mere token of a brighter jewel sent from above? Fare thee well, my bright star. The song continues on. And I've always liked reading song lyrics as a poem, because you know, a lot of them originally start off as poems. All right, the second piece by Marjorie is called Miles to Go. It's acrylic on wood panel 7x5, and it's inspired by a Robert Frost poem called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here, to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harshness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and drowsy downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Always like hearing a good Robert Frost poem. Cindy Sumerano, another artist with a little bit of a dark side. This is called I Wore This Dress for You. And I don't say a dark side, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I always like a little bit of an edge to art. So this is called I Wore Your Dress. It's acrylic on canvas 40x24, and it's inspired by a poem by Kim Dower called I Wear This Dress Today for You, Mom. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It's a longer poem. Breezy floral dancing with color, soft silky flows as I walk. Easter Sunday, and you always like to get dressed. Go for brunch. Maybe there's a good movie playing somewhere. Wrong religion. We were not churchgoers, but New Yorkers who understood the value of a parade down Fifth Avenue. Bonnets in lavender, powder blues, pinks, hues of spring, the hope it would bring. The rest of the poem is on the website, which, again, I encourage you to go to the website, spend a little time with the poems and with the art. You know, a lot of times poems deserve multiple readings to really get the most out of it, and art as well. The more you view art, the more you see in it, or at least that's my experience. Love this photograph by Tavis, Christian Tavis. Christian is another Jersey guy. This is called What Will Become. It is a digital photograph, and it is inspired by a poem by HFM. Do you know what liminal means? Liminal comes from Latin, limen, meaning threshold, a place of entering or of beginning, a fine line between the was and will, a place of transition, waiting, unknowing. And I suppose you could say this is liminal, this poem, this life, this concept of eternal that we seem to attribute to our sadly impermanent art. This body of mine is so very liminal. This voice that I roll around on my tongue is liminal. This word itself, a blink compared to infinity, can only be said to be a threshold to somewhere else. That is Christian Tavis. Their beautiful abstract piece by Uzoma Wugu. This is called, the piece is called Wrong Turns. It's acrylic and it's 12 by 12. And it's inspired by the artist's own poem called Where the Grass Grows. Boxed photographs in the attic, full of grass, morals turned to rags, mirrors hung against rusted and broken walls. The smell of mothballs turns into a mystery unsolved. What could it be that hasn't been seen before the home below was empty? Pockets on clothes left on racks like they were never unpacked. Then those boxed up photographs haunt everything, like the family never left. And then finally, well, not finally, I got a couple more. This is by Leslie Yolen. Leslie lives in Bern, New York. This is called Talk with the Sky. It's an encaustic and mixed media piece and is 12 by 36. And it is based on a Pablo Neruda quote from the Book of Questions. And the quote is, "What did the tree learn from the earth to be able to talk with the sky?" And then the second piece by Leslie is called Rain, When the Rain Comes Down. It's encaustic and ink and it's 9 by 12. And it's inspired by the Beatles song called Rain. I'm just going to read just a little bit of it, which actually it's not a song that I'm familiar with. I'm going to have to look it up. So it's called Rain. If the rain comes, they rush and hide their heads. They might as well be dead if the rain comes, if the rain comes. When the sun shines, they slip into the shade when the sun shines down and slip their lemonade when the sun shines down, when the sun shines, when the sun shines. And finally, the last piece we have is a sculptural piece, and it is by Erin Zerbe. Erin lives in, no, I'm not sure where Erin is, I'm sorry. This is called My Rusty Nail Moment. It's a glass sculpture and it's a small piece, it's 3 by 6. And it is based on Ken Kenzie's book, Sometimes a Great Notion. It's a novel. And in this piece, the artist encapsulates handcraft rusty nails within clear glass, inviting viewers to delve into the layers of symbolism intertwined with the materials and the narrative they evoke. At the heart of this artwork lies the significance of the rusty nail scene from Kesey's novel, where the protagonist confronts the punishing and relentless climate of the Pacific Northeast. He opens a fresh box of nails to find they are already rusted. This is his heartbreaking point, and he quietly leaves behind this way of life which has caused him so much misery. So that's the last piece in the show. It really is a really, really wonderful show. Again, I think, you know, with pretty much all art, in my opinion, and poetry especially, it deserves a second look and a little bit of personal time to spend with it. So I encourage you to to go back, have a look at the show, and spend a little bit more time with it. There is 54 pieces in the show by 41 different artists. I'm really, really thrilled to have had everyone join us here, or me here, to talk about their work. I thank the artists who weren't available to join us, to allowing me to present their work, and I hope that my voice brought a little bit of life to both their poetry, especially their original poetry, and their work, and I hope it did it justice. If you are interested in taking a look at some of the previous Art and Word show, as I was saying earlier when I was muted, and I'll say it now, this time around, I took a different approach to the Art and Word show, which I've been celebrating for the last 8 years. Previously, I would invite a handful of artists and a handful of poets. So it was an exhibition by invite. The artist would submit existing artwork to the poets. Poets would ask to connect with a piece of art or two and create a new poem inspired by that piece of art. On the other hand, the poets would submit existing poetry that would go to the artists. Artists were asked to connect with a poem or two and then create a new piece of art inspired by that poem. And then they were both hung side to side at the gallery. I did get a lot of artists who really wanted to be part of the show. So this time around, I put a call out for art, and unfortunately left the poets out in this round, but welcomed the opportunity for artists to submit work based on poems of their choosing. And as you saw and heard, a lot of them were original poems, which I was really, really pleased to receive. So again, I really, really thank everyone for joining me and participating in the show. I look forward to doing some more of these events. It is, as I said, one of my favorite shows of the year, because it is an opportunity for me to really connect the written word with artwork, which is one of my favorite things, because I think that the two disciplines really inspire one another, and it's great to see that laid out here on the screen. So thanks everyone. I'm so glad to welcome and meet some new artists. It's always a pleasure to welcome back folks that I've worked with before and to see some new work. So please come back again. Read some poetry this month. Bring some poetry into your life. I just recently started with a poetry reading group. So we're getting together once a month and reading a book of poetry. So it's a great opportunity for me to bring poetry into my life as well too, in a different way. I encourage you, pick out some favorite poems. There's some great poets out there, some classics and some new ones. So go search them out. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and we will see you at the next one. So take care. Thanks again.